Well, good afternoon, and thanks to each of you for joining us today for episode 2 of our centennial year celebration featuring giants in physical therapy in Kentucky. You may be asking yourself, what is a giant in physical therapy? Well, we consider a giant someone who has contributed to the growth of our therapy profession, forwarding us through the years, and someone who has had some extensive advocacy for the profession, someone who has mentored others, maybe someone who has done outstanding work in the field through clinic work, through research, through academia, or who has contributed in some major way to the profession. And so we want to take the time to celebrate these individuals who have brought us through the last 100 years as we set sail for the next 100 years. And so today, episode 2, we're excited to celebrate a monster as a giant in our profession, someone who exemplifies the kind of work that we just described, Mr. Tom Pennington. And so before we get to the main event with Patrick Beach, our Eastern District Chair, we're going to turn it over to Beth Ennis, our Centennial Ambassador, who has a few words to share.
Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate it. Just a couple things related to the Centennial to try and keep everybody engaged in what's going on nationally. We have a Centennial lecture series that's going on through APTA. I'm putting the link to that series in the comments box, so that should show up on your feed. That will take you to the Centennial page with all of the registrations for the various lectures that will be going on. One actually starts today, and then the rest go through the rest of the year. There's also listings of all of the national events that are going on that people can engage with. And then, of course, we have our fundraiser in Kentucky, which is our APTA Kentucky 100 Years of PT branded bourbon bottle. We still have bourbon bottles left, so if you'd like to contribute to our DEI fund, please feel free to go to the website. I will also repost the flyer on both our Facebook page and Facebook group. Please share that with anyone. And we are getting bottles out to folks as they order them. So I look forward to continuing my travels delivering bourbon. It is my pleasure to hand this over to Ron Mead, who is our membership chair, and Sam Knapp, who is the PTA SIG chair.
Thank you, Beth. One of the things that we are trying to do within the membership committee is to improve the value of being a member of the APTA. And that, of course, includes value for our PTA members. So we're looking for leadership opportunities, professional development opportunities. And in order to really provide those opportunities, we need input. And so the way that we have developed a solution for getting that input is to develop a SIG for our PTAs, a special interest group. And the chair of our PTA SIG is with us. That is Sam Knapp from Lexington. And Sam, what can you tell us maybe about the SIG? What information would people need to know about what the SIG is, what the SIG does?
So the SIG is in kind of its early stages. The goal of the SIG is to create a space for networking for PTAs as well as social gatherings for PTAs. That way we have more access to each other across the Commonwealth. I'm looking forward to working with people to try to get more information out, what's happening nationally, what's happening statewide, and things like that. We're still in infancy, but we do have, we're working together to get something going for everybody.
And Sam, when might we expect to see that the first meeting of this SIG where PTAs from across the state can participate? When might we expect that to come?
Actually, we have it set for April 13th. We'll be sending something out fairly soon on social media to let everybody know when it is, and you can sign up to attend. It will be online, virtual, and we'll basically kind of introduce ourselves, let everybody know what we've got planned, kind of ideas, and get feedback from PTAs in Kentucky to see what they would like to see out of a special interest group as well.
Okay, very good. While I'm here, I'm going to put in a shameless plug for another SIG that we have. That is the New Professionals SIG, and we're looking for leadership in that group now. So, Sam, I think that you've done a great job with getting everything together, and I think we're going to hand this over to Patrick Beach, who is the Eastern District Chair, so that he can interview Tom.
Thank you, Ron. How are you doing, Mr. Pennington?
Oh, please call me Tom, Patrick. I'm doing well. How are you?
Tom? Doing well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be hosting you and interviewing you for this month's edition of Giants in Physical Therapy.
Listen, I'm very humbled to be here. This is quite an honor, and I don't know if it's well deserved. I think when you're 105 and you're just still living as a PT, someday you get interviewed, maybe.
I don't know. I think what you've done for our profession is awesome, but without further ado, if you're ready, we have some questions we'd like to ask you.
Absolutely.
And so, starting with question number 1, what motivated you to choose the physical therapy profession, and how has it crafted your career development?
Patrick, I was very lucky. I'm from Madisonville, Kentucky, Western Kentucky, and my mom raised 4 kids on her own. I was the youngest, and she was a nurse and then became a nursing instructor. And when she went back to school, I was in high school, so I would help her study anatomy and help her study. She commuted to Murray State University. And so I just kind of became very enamored by science, the human body, the influence of my mom. I went to Western on a tennis scholarship when the dinosaurs roamed. And like a lot of college kids, was searching for something meaningful. I knew I wanted to achieve 2 things, hopefully, in a career. One, that I wanted to make a positive impact on someone's life. And physical therapy was a way to do that, not only physically, but hopefully emotionally, at a time where someone may be real down. It could be a paralyzed patient, or it could be just an athlete that's bummed out because their career has stopped or been momentarily interrupted. And physical therapy, I did a real nerdy thing at the time, and I'm full of nerdy things in my life. But I took a career placement test at Western, and it came out number 1, physical therapy, number 2, social work, number 3, physician. And even though I played sports, I really never was injured through sports. So my interaction with PT was really very minimal. And during the summer after my sophomore year, I went back to Madisonville to my local hospital. I was working for the YMCA as a day camp counselor and a lifeguard. And days that would rain, I would go into the hospital, regional medical center, and lo and behold, the first PT I saw there was Mike Muscarelli. And he was doing a cool Cybex on an athlete that had an ACL injury. And through the influence of Mike and Gail Pritchett there, I just thought, what a cool venue as a profession to hopefully make the impact that you would want to make as you go through life.
That's awesome. It's crazy how much we're there for people, not only physically, but mentally. And so that's awesome that you had that impact from Mike and for your patients.
I was just very lucky to have that type. Mike just epitomized energy, professional. Obviously, he was the first giant on your interview. And I can't think of anyone more appropriate than Mike Muscarelli for that honor.
Absolutely. All right, question number 2. Share with us some of the avenues you have contributed to our profession's advocacy and young professionals' development.
I hope it's been a positive impact. I'll start by just years ago when I was getting started in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That was a time where a lot of rural areas throughout Kentucky, especially South Central and Western Kentucky, were void of physical therapists. So we started contracting with hospitals, with nursing homes, with home health agencies, and developed 8 outpatient clinics within about a 42 county area of South Central Kentucky, from Somerset to Paducah almost. And I think one of the most exciting things was that we had a lot of people on scholarship at that time, University of Louisville, and probably almost half of the PTAs out of Somerset on scholarship to help with their tuition and to come to a theater near you. So what was really neat was seeing young men and women from Burkesville, from Cadiz, Kentucky, from Hopkinsville, from Tompkinsville, from all these rural areas that would go to school and many times bring physical therapy back for the first time in their counties. So that was a thing that where not only did I get to work with students as a CI, but I really got to see them go to school, come back and live their dream. and bring services to a county that if your grandmother was in the nursing home, you may not have access to physical therapy. And I know that's hard to believe now, but that was kind of the sign of the times there.
Not being from Kentucky, I didn't realize how much of an impact and a growth you've had on the profession's growth. That's incredible.
Well,
I would have never thought.
You know, when you lack competency, you marry it and you surround yourself with it. And I've been very fortunate to do both. So certainly in the area of delivery of care, that was an exciting thing to be a part of, is just bringing therapy services to areas that have been void. In addition to that, I've been very blessed and privileged to have been serving on our state licensure board right now for the 5th term. And I'm just around a lot of incredibly bright people. We probably have one of the best licensure boards and most competent licensure boards in the nation. And it's not through anything that I've done, but just through my predecessors and through the competency of our executive director, Scott Majors, and all the chairs that have preceded me, from Janice Cooperstein, and the list goes on and on and on. But I think it's neat to see therapists, and for me, that was a whole different role. It's very humbling as a practicing therapist to all of a sudden be on the regulation side, where you're judging by our standards to protect the public, and you're reviewing notes. And it's very humbling to come back to your own practice and say, how can I do this better? Where am I falling short on what we do? And that has led me the great experience of being involved with the Federation of State Boards of Physical Therapy on a national level. Obviously, there goes public protection, but I've been able to serve on several committees, from bylaws to financial, right now to Boundaries Task Force. We're seeing boundaries issues more prevalent, violations in the licensees. But it's just been a privilege to be around so many people of A, integrity, B, competency, and C, just a passionate, sacrificial giving to the profession. And certainly the KPTA, I've been involved in a minor role with that. I really appreciate what Ron and Sam are doing, and the membership, what Beth and Charlie are doing, and just their passion to continued excellence to make us the profession that we all know we can be. And it just doesn't happen by accident. But that's been amazing to see. Matter of fact, I just got a call a while ago from Western Kentucky University, from Karen Fugel there. And she basically said that right now in the program that we helped to start, that we have 7 of our graduates that are currently going to be CIs for students there. So it's neat to see that evolution kind of go through.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, what advice or inspiration would you offer to young professionals entering the profession, or to those considering physical therapy as a chosen career?
You know, if my family would be here, my kids, my 5 kids and wife, they'd shake their head if I gave anyone advice. But I would say this. I think that the best advice I think you can give is to be genuine. Don't be something that you're not. And don't try, because I think patients and coworkers can pick up on fakeness and non-genuineness. And I think once you go there, my advice would be to cling on to a mentor, someone that can hold you accountable, someone that's been there and done that and made mistakes that hopefully you won't have to make through the learning curve. And then I think probably thirdly and lastly, I really want to embrace, and I think most people go into therapy, but a concept called servant leadership. And it's what you know as a good coach. When you've had a good coach or a good teacher that cares all about you, and they invest in you to be the best you can be, you'll run through a wall for them. Conversely, if someone's not trying to do that and just kind of using you for self-gain, you'll shut down. And I think we have a unique opportunity. I respect both coaches and teachers probably more than anyone, because of the opportunity they have to impact someone's lives. And I think as physical therapists, we can be both coaches and teachers if we embrace that role. And if we do it in a role where we're not doing it for self-gain, but truly investing in the patient and in our peers and coworkers and making them the best they can be, then I think that really brings fulfillment and success. I don't measure success in monetary terms. I measure it in, are you placing yourself to be the best that you can be in something that you love? And so that's the advice I would give for young students or pre-physical therapy students coming out.
All right, thank you. Can you provide a special highlight moment in your career that was meaningful to you, and how our profession has driven you to expand into larger roles in your career?
You know, I think there's a couple that come to mind, Patrick. One is certainly when I got accepted to physical therapy school. I opened my envelope in an outdoor amphitheater in the springtime, about this time of year, from University of Kentucky. That was in 1981. The dinosaurs were roaming, pterodactyls were flying, but I remember wanting that so badly. And at that time, we only had one PT school in the state. My pre-physical therapy advisor said, "Tom, don't apply. You probably won't make it. You know, we don't have a lot of Western students." So I was really thinking I probably wouldn't get in. I think they accepted 32 at the time, and it was just a very special moment that I felt very, not to sound corny, but very privileged to have the opportunity to go into. And I think the next thing that comes to mind was I had the opportunity to help found the Doctorate of Physical Therapy program at Western Kentucky University. As we talked about, Patrick, you knew the shortage of our areas. Kids that went to UK and Bellarmine or U of L in the day, from rural areas would go to Lexington and Louisville, and it's pretty sexy. You may not want to go back to your hometown because of all the sex appeal. So there has been just years and years of a void and a shortage of therapists in kind of South Central and Western Kentucky. And I had the unique privilege to work with the university president. There were people that were on the steering committee and advisory committee of this project that included Mike Muscarelli in Paducah, that included Gail Pritchett in Madisonville, Bruce Mozzie in Owensboro, and Linda Pello from Bowling Green. And to get this, unfortunately, we had to go and get a legislative change. The only two programs in the state, U of L and UK, were the only ones that at that time could get a doctorate level program of any type without going through the legislative process. So it was a real blessing when all the collective effort came together. Not only did we get a bill passed to allow Western to get their DPT program, we wanted to do that in a way which wouldn't hurt Bellarmine's program or cannibalize UK's program. And we were able to achieve that, but not only did the bill get passed to do that legislatively, it allowed all regional universities to have up to 6 doctorate level programs on healthcare professions, because everything was moving toward that end. So that was a real happy day, because I wanted, just like, you know, I'm a redneck from Madisonville, Kentucky. I wanted other little, probably not as big rednecks as me, but other people being able to go to college at Western and go to physical therapy school and stay local. And so that was a real neat thing, and a real collective effort with our university president and all those that I just mentioned.
It's incredible, Tom. I'm learning a lot from you just from this interview. That's incredible. Thank you.
Well, I had a lot of help.
All right. Last question. Who was instrumental in guiding / motivating you in your physical therapy profession?
There's probably been about 5 people, Patrick, and probably many others if I look back. But one was Mike Muscarelli as a pre-PT student, just turning me on. And Mike has continued to be a mentor and a friend and a role model for me. His inclusiveness, his genuineness, his intellect. I'm envious of so many of his attributes, but certainly Mike ranks up there as being very high. Another was a former professor at UK, Richard McDougall, who's no longer with us now. He passed several years ago, but Mac encouraged me as a student. When I got out of physical therapy school, he got me involved with the Federation of State Boards of Physical Therapy. And I just saw his commitment toward professionalism and excellence and reaching forward. It was a big impact. Another is a therapist that just retired that you probably haven't heard of, but actually, Patrick, he was in Richmond and he's from Jackson, Kentucky. His name is Jim Cluck. And I worked with Jim and did a rotation with him in Hayden, Kentucky, and at Frontier Nursing Service. And literally, we were going over creek beds and drawbridges to people's homes. And I've just never seen someone as committed to their patients in a very sincere, genuine way as Jim Click. And I had the chance to work with him for 2 years in Richmond when I got out of PT school. And we were the only 2 PTs in the county doing everything from hospital to nursing home to home health to pediatrics. And it was a scary time because I know very little about pediatrics. I think who comes to mind next is a therapist over in that I worked with who's been a lifelong friend and a classmate of mine, Roger Whitlock. And not unlike Jim Click, Roger lives in Somerset, but not unlike Jim, I've seen Roger for the past 40 years commit himself to patients, all in the kind of the Somerset service area of about a 3-hour radius. And he does it with no fanfare. He does it with genuineness and in a sacrificial level. And I just really respect therapists out there in that daily grind of seeing patients and doing that. And finally, last but not least, would be my business partner for 25 years. He's not a physical therapist, but his name is Phil Clemens. And Phil has been a friend. He has taught me the meaning of servant leadership. He's taught me the meaning of how to proceed and put others first. I fail in that every day, and I need a lot of mentorship in that area. But he has brought not only ethics, but practicality and excellence in a servant leadership model to me as a physical therapist, because I had the PT down, but I didn't have the business skills I really needed to advance what I wanted to do in private practice. And Phil has enabled me to do that, Patrick. So I know it's a mouthful, but thanks for asking.
Yeah, well, no, thank you so much for sharing. And I've learned so much just from this interview, a nice history lesson there. And I mean, I can't thank you enough for what you've done and what you continue to do for our profession.
Well, Patrick, thank you for what you're doing in your Eastern District chair. And I know you will far surpass what little contributions I've been able to make. But thank you, and thank you for your time.
Well, Tom, we love your energy. We love your genuine enthusiasm and character that you bring. And I really like the words that you used that describe our giants. You said, people that have a passion for giving to our profession. And that certainly describes you to a T. So we're honored to celebrate you today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate you.
And thanks to everybody that's joined us today. We invite you back for episode 3, and we'll have our next giant. Have a great day.